going on, everybody? I love everybody. And welcome to episode 14 of the Sim Station Internet Football Podcast. I am your host, Trivia Giga Chad, winner of Tiebreakers Travis.
Giga Chad.
Joined, as always, by my co-host, Wyatt. How you doing?
I'm doing great. It's almost playoff time, and I'm getting scared.
I look back last year, and we had a four-way tie for third to sixth seed. This one feels so much more intense. I don't know why. This one just a little spicy. I think because last year I assumed I was going to lose in the first round and just kind of leave. But yeah, this one's a spicer.
Now you're the first seed, and you're like, oh, here we are.
I'm like, fuck, I am terrified. It's fine. It's fine. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be... We had a huge week this week. All four of the top seeds... Or no, Reeves lost. But the other three top seeds getting a dub. Me over Spencer, you over Steele, and Banglewood over Dalton? Dalton Mbue? Yeah.
Yeah.
And a couple teams keeping their playoff hopes alive. I mean, Biz picked up a win this week to keep herself alive. If she lost and everything else went the same, I'm pretty sure she's out.
Yeah.
Same with Beans. If she lost and everything else went the same, she would be out. So
and she took down former number one, Reeves.
Yeah, she did. Reeves took a big fat L this week because he also does not have the tiebreaker against Banglewood. So that's rough for him. But,
yeah. Went from first to fourth. Unlucky.
Becca, there was a chance she could keep her playoff hopes alive this week if the tables, turned correctly. She did her part, but unfortunately, there's no... I mean, unless she scores 300 points, there's no way for her to actually win this week or to make playoffs, so she will probably be gone. I mean, I don't know. There's 10 teams still really alive, and it's
hype. I mean, last year did Beans end up with 3 wins? I can't remember.
Yeah, she was 3-11.
Okay, so Ag Mills has the potential to get the worst record ever. So there's that.
Yeah, the worst record ever, and for career regular season record, currently Beans is last with 9 wins. Ag Mills has 10 right now. You had 8-6 last year, has 2 this year. So if Beans wins and he doesn't, they could be tied for lowest regular season wins. Steele has 11 also. I think he's third to last.
Unlucky.
No, Steele has... Yeah, still 11. But yeah, I mean, this week was hype. There
were a lot of big performances and a lot of bad performances. There are a lot of big name players that got injured, which was unfortunate. Yeah. So
the stuff really shook up. I mean, we'll get into it obviously, but yeah, Lamar Jackson getting injured was pretty massive for Steele's team. Luckily, he does have a solid option at backup quarterback, unlike some of our other teams.
I mean, Lamar Jackson getting injured pretty much won me the week. Like, if Lamar stays in and gets what he's projected, I would have lost.
Yeah, I looked. Even if he hit 80% of his projection, you would have lost.
Yeah.
So that was definitely huge. We'll see if Steele can hopefully pull through. I mean, we'll see.
I mean, for the sake of our power rankings, I want him to lose, but otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we talked about it a little in Discord, but in case people weren't reading, there's some matchups this week. Really, Steele's win is what controls if everything what else matters. Steele could there's 3 big matchups this week. Steele versus... Who's Steele against you? No, Steele versus Banglewood. We'll kind of get into this later. Basically, so there's 5 teams, all 5 teams at 6 and 7. If they win, they're in.
Crazy.
That's for starters. If you win, you're in. You'll max out at the 5th seed, but realistically, it's probably
Yeah, and then if Steele loses, then somebody who loses from the other matchups could also get in. But
it's gonna be weird. It's gonna be a weird one. I mean, I guess we'll see who the players that got us here were. We'll start with the studs. I'm going to toot my own horn a little bit and point out Devontae Adams. He is the
He's
number. Yeah, indeed. He's so hit or miss. I'm like, he kind of still belongs on this list. Even though he's slowly becoming one of those guys that's just a stud every week.
I mean, he is the wide receiver 1 on the year, so he is definitely one of those.
Like, he has, I think, 3 or 4 games below 11 points.
Yeah.
So it's like, which again, 11's a good mark. Don't get me wrong, but Devontae Adams is sick. 34 points, including one on a flea flicker touchdown. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, he's a beast. And then tooting my own horn a little bit, literally the only good player on my team, Jalen Hurts, got like 35 points. The dude, I mean, if Patrick Mahomes wasn't a thing, he would be the easy MVP. And even then, he could be ahead of him in the race. I mean...
Yeah, the odds got closer this week. I think Mahomes is still number 1, and then it's Hurts, and then Joe Burrow.
Yep.
But I think the odds... Oh, God, I don't remember the number. Hurts was like... I think he was in the plus in the hundreds, though. It wasn't even plus 200s. That's pretty solid.
Yeah. It's crazy the leap forward he's taken this season, and it has saved my fantasy team on many occasions.
Yeah, your team's a little sus.
But also, DeAndre Swift getting 20 opportunities this week was pretty cool.
Well, for someone who really mutilated the Jags, one of my other studs is Amon-Ra St. Brown on the same team, but he is the star of that offense, and he is fucking ridiculous. I hate it because I literally almost took him, but he had the same bye week as 3 of my other players, which, knowing what I know now, I should have just taken him and sacked that week, because I sacked it anyways. I got 50 points that week. But, fuck you, Reeves. God damn it. Yeah, Amon-Ra St. Brown, fucking beast.
He's a beast. Speaking of last name Brown, AJ Brown friggin' went off on his former team.
Got his GM fired.
Fuck the Titans.
We're doing a lot of really heavy-hitting analysis today. It's just like, fuck you. Okay. Also, speaking of Brown, I have a little bit of a rant. So in my notes, I put not Cleveland defense. The Cleveland defense scored 30 points. It's the highest I've ever seen a defense score. But I'm just morally opposed to putting absolutely shitty defenses in the studs because they got to play the Texans. That does not seem like you're a stud. You're against the biggest stud on the fucking planet. And I figured you were going to put the Browns in here especially because they're on Beans' team and you're kind of a simp. So
yeah.
But I was like, I refuse. Fuck that shit. You got to play against stupid-ass Kyle Allen. Congratulations.
The Texans are absolutely terrible. It is disgusting.
The Jags have had 4 wins over the last 2 years, and I think this Texans team is worse than both of those Jags teams.
And they beat the Jags this year, by the way. Unfortunate. They're only dub.
Yeah.
Man.
Sorry. So you know what? They're not a fucking stud. Should they be? Yes. Are they? No. Fuck you.
But
that's pretty much all I had.
Yeah, I mean, we can move on to the duds and talk about a guy from that game that I was just very excited to see that he did very poorly. Deshaun Watson. Ag Mills played him, and I think he got less than 5 points or something like that.
He has 5.5. Yeah, it was rough.
Yeah, I mean, can't say he doesn't deserve it, but
yeah, it's one of those things where the only people that aren't happy are Deshaun Watson fantasy owners, and maybe his mom,
but probably not even his mom.
Yeah, probably not. His mom's neutral. So I was like, cool. Another dud that I had in a fairly close matchup, 20 points. There weren't a lot of close matchups this week outside of Reeves. JWJ. JWJ's been pretty good since he came to the Dolphins.
Dude, he had 1 carry.
Yeah.
How's that even possible?
I don't know. I don't really get it. Yeah, since coming to the team, he's had 9 carries, 14 fantasy points, 17 carries for 21 fantasy points, 13 carries for 12 fantasy points. And somehow he drops to one.
One carry for 3 yards.
I think Mostert only had 7 or 8. I think they recognized that because they were missing their 2 tackles, they probably just said, like, we're just giving up on the run game, which really hurt Dalton this week. I mean, Dalton WA probably wouldn't have won even with a solid JWJ game, but them
would have been a lot closer.
Yeah. Especially when you consider they have another dud on their team, George Pickens.
And George Pickens.
Oh, God, I forgot about Derrick Henry, yeah. Oh, God.
That's a dud team right there.
Yeah.
Unlucky.
Oh, unlucky. Any other duds?
I mean, like I talked about earlier, there was a few big names that got injured and did poorly because of it. Waddle was one of them. He came in and out of the game a bunch, but he only had 1 catch, and he was dealing with a leg injury the whole time. Kenneth Walker for Reeves. I mean, part of the reason he lost that matchup is because Kenneth Walker got injured after 3 carries, so he only got like 3.5 points. I think. Oh yeah, Lamar got like 1 point and then was out, and is probably out for the next couple weeks. So
yeah, it's hard to criticize players when they get injured.
Yeah,
but Jalen Waddle still had 5 targets. You'd expect more than 1.4 points on 5 targets. Or Cortland Sutton played the whole first half of the game and got a fat 0.
Yep.
He got 1 target, 0 points, even though he played the entire half. So yeah, he got injured. But come on.
You also kind of got to give a discount there because Russell Wilson is ass.
But he's had decent weeks the last few. He got it's 11, 11, and 9 or something the last 3 weeks. So
also, I got to give a sad shout out to Zay Jones. After going beast mode last week, he just could not catch anything this week, and it pissed me off. So you're on the duds list, Zay. Get better.
You're talking to the person that started him at flex. So yeah. He was also injured, so it's kind of the same thing. He was injured all week.
Yep. Also, Michael Pittman on my team. He only got 2 points because the Colts offense is just god awful. So
and the Cowboys defense is really fucking good.
Yeah, true.
Bet.
That's all I got.
Wire pickups of the week.
Cleveland. That's literally the only good one.
Yeah.
I like that. Was the only one that contributed meaningfully.
Yeah, Agnews had a couple good ones that he kept on the bench.
Zonovan.
Zonovan had 11 points. Or no, 14 points.
But it don't matter if he's on a bench.
Yeah, and it wouldn't have won Agnews' game anyways.
Yeah.
I literally don't even know any other waiver wire pickups.
Yeah, I looked at it. I don't think really any got played besides Cleveland, and maybe one other.
I'm sure there
defense.
were some defenses. I played the Minnesota defense. They got they were terrible. They got 5 points.
Yeah.
But yeah. Bet. Did you have a manager of the week?
I mean, not really. I mean, I just gave it to Beans because of the waiver wire pickup, I guess. But I mean, nobody really did anything crazy this week.
I have to give it. I'm just gonna give it to Becca. Biggest blowout of the week against a really pretty solid team in Sharksy, and she tried her best to keep her playoff hopes alive. And I refused to give it to the Cleveland because Beans' best player was the Cleveland Browns defense, and they blow. Yeah, really high quality analysis we've got going on here. This is a great show. We just won a consolation prize in trivia. Because they got the scoring wrong, so they told us we were 4th. We were actually 5th. And now we're basically giving you guys we're giving you basically the consolation prize of podcasts. You didn't deserve to have to listen to this garbage, but you're going to. All right, that's going to bring us to the second of the week. So what we're going to be talking about today is where we each picked. I hope we each picked a key player for each team. Okay, good.
Fantasy
playoffs.
playoffs.
I'm glad I communicated that well.
Fantasy playoffs X Factors. That's what I called it.
I was like, did I explain this correctly? I really hope so. But I was like, I'm not going to try and re-explain it.
Yeah,
did you do them for Agnes and Becca too, or no?
Yeah, I did. Just
okay, good. I didn't want. Yeah, I was like, I'm gonna do these. Yeah, basically we're just one guy. And the way I did it was if you're in a win and you're in matchup, I did it for this week and the playoffs. But, like really focus on this week. So like if you didn't play this week, I'm not giving it to you. If you're in a winner, like Justin Fields is not winning it for me, even though he is the answer for Dalton of UA.
Yeah, that's fair.
And then like for the top playoff teams, I just did like the whole playoffs.
Yeah.
All right. So who's your Agnos pick? We'll start it from the bottom, just like Drake.
I also did it where like if a player is generally pretty good, I left him off there because like you're expecting them to do well anyways. So it's like an X factor player. So like they sometimes do bad, sometimes do good. So you really need them to do good. And this season for Agmills, it's kind of been Debo. Like he's been doing really well sometimes and but been pretty disappointing other times. So he's definitely a huge factor in Agmills' success.
Yeah, I was kind of tossing up between Debo because he's so inconsistent, and then Keenan Allen just because we haven't always seen it that much this year.
Yeah.
I ended up going with Keenan Allen just because I feel like I don't expect much out of Debo anymore, especially with the quarterback change. But Keenan, it's like, can he get to like 20? Like, can he put up a 25-point game to maybe give Alex some hope to upset Reeves in the last week?
Yeah. That's fair.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they're both pretty good answers. Plus, it's just the 1 week, and Keenan Allen plays the Dolphins, so there's a good chance that'll happen. Dolphins
defense sucks.
All right, let's move on to Becca.
For Becca, I had like a combo of the two different players that were pretty close for me, and they were two of her young, talented receivers. I guess the one I would put above the other, because Christian Washington has a bye this week, so if we're including this week, then I'd put Garrett Wilson as her X Factor. He's been very, very good. He was pretty good with shithead in the game. What's his name?
Zach Wilson?
Zach Wilson. He was like up and down, but since Mike White has come in, he's been beast mode, and that dude is so good.
It's pretty much whenever Zach Wilson's not on the field, Garrett Wilson's doing well. He was also mine for the team. Same kind of thing. I just thought I literally had Christian Watson and Garrett Wilson listed because they've both been insane the last few weeks.
Dude, Christian Watson is a touchdown machine. He has 8 touchdowns in the last 4 games.
He's so fast for how big he is.
It's crazy.
It's just like it's like sometimes, like all these football players have they're like super skilled, like Devontae Adams does all this fucking one-hand catching shit.
Yeah.
And Christian Watson's like, I'm big, I'm fast.
That's all he needs, dude.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, I think that's a pretty good one. Let's hope he doesn't regress. Try to give Becca get her up to 6 wins. She may be that may help her try to get second for all-time wins. I don't know. We were looking at this last week, or before this week's results came out.
I mean, with the regular season, I'm pretty sure I'm first, right?
Yeah.
Because I had like 11 last year.
Yeah. And me, Banglewood, Reeves, and Sharksy were all pretty low last year. I was the highest with 7 out of that group.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyways. How about for Bizzer Wade?
For Biz, it was a little tough. I don't know. She just doesn't have... I mean, the one I put was George Kittle, because he's been super inconsistent. He was injured early in the year, but we know he has the pop-off potential. Like, he can get 100 yards and 2 touchdowns in a game. I don't know if he can with Brock Purdy at the helm, but...
And Josh Johnson, the legend.
Yeah, they're just going to plug Josh Johnson in. Yeah. That makes me so confident.
I also had George Kittle. I think we're seeing in some of these teams like Pittsburgh, young quarterbacks, big tight ends that can catch like everything are really helpful.
Yeah.
And so there's a chance they just feed George Kittle the ball. Like in that, maybe he ends up with like an 8-catch game. Or maybe it's Brock Purdy or Josh Johnson. He has like 2 targets, 1 catch for 17 yards. And that's it. So, and he's been up and down even with the good quarterbacks. So I think that was a pretty easy. Plus, he's really the only like in-between player on Biz's roster. They're either bad or good.
They're either Justin Jefferson or they're Damian Harris.
Yeah, it's either a running back and they're bad, or it's every other position and they're pretty solid.
Yeah.
The other one I consider was Dak Prescott.
Yeah, same.
And I thought he's been a lot better than he has.
It's just because the Cowboys' run game has been so dominant that he just doesn't get as many points.
Yeah, it's like they're winning some of these games by 35 points, and he just doesn't do anything.
Yeah,
which is pretty. So I can't really blame him. And so in Houston, is he going to play the whole game? Like, are they
probably not? He will be done by like halftime. That is going to be a slaughter.
Pull a Tua and pull him after the first drive of the third quarter. We'll see. And our surprise 9th place team currently is Spencer. So who is Spencer's X factor?
Oh no, Spencer. My X factor for Spencer is probably Alvin Kamara. I know he doesn't play this week, so I guess I could change it, but I don't really know who I would change it to be honest, because, I mean, there's a reason he's on a 5 losing streak. Sorry, but Alvin Kamara is supposed to be, I mean, he was Spencer's 2nd round pick, I think, because he picked Saquon and Alvin Kamara back to back. Or, yeah. And then,
I think it was Kamara and then Saquon. I don't remember, though.
Either way, he was a very high draft pick. He was disappointing early in the year, kind of found his footing in the middle, and then has completely dropped off since. So he would just have to play well for Spencer to make the playoffs, and he's not playing. So
yeah, I didn't have one for this. I mean, I didn't have a great one for this either. I put David Njoku, because he didn't play this week with Deshaun, but are they going to be able to do anything as a passing game, or is Njoku just going to be like a fat negative? I don't know. He was pretty solid with Jacoby Brissett playing. Like,
he was.
Actually, yeah, I mean, he was all right. He had that one crazy game where he had like 20 points.
I mean, Deshaun threw the ball like, I think it was 22 times, and Amari Cooper had 9 targets. So he definitely got a lot of the work.
Yeah, but it'll be so. We'll see if like having Njoku, because Njoku would definitely be the 2nd best pass catcher on that team if he's playing. I mean, either him or like Kareem Hunt. I don't fucking know.
Or Donovan Peoples-Jones.
But yeah, maybe. And like Deshaun looked really bad, but maybe they're like, oh, let's try to mix it up and throw in Njoku. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or there's a big chance that Njoku is just hurt and doesn't play.
That's fair enough.
Spencer's other tight end is on a bye. So, yeah.
He better hope Njoku plays.
Have you looked at Spencer's roster?
Yeah, yes, that's what I was saying. Is I couldn't really decide. Like, I couldn't really pick anybody else because it's bad. It's real bad.
The only other running back he has to start for Kamara is
Darrell Henderson. The 4th string for the Jags, who probably won't even be active.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, it's a little questionable, but he's trusting the process.
All right. To get off of that depressing note, let's go to Dalton and B-Way.
So if we were including this week, obviously it would be Fields, but he's not playing this week, so that's tough. He also has Marcus Mariota as his backup, who is also not playing. So that's also tough. He's going to have to pick up a waiver wire quarterback and a waiver wire tight end to stream in his do-or-die game. So my X factor, I guess, would be Jeff Wilson Jr. I mean, he's got a really good matchup this week against the Chargers. We've seen that he can be really good, and the Dolphins should give him more than one carry. So, I mean, he definitely makes a big difference.
Yeah. That I don't really know what else to say. I don't know. I put CeeDee Lamb as mine. We kind of talked about Dak Prescott, how like the Cowboys' passing attack is not that good, and yet CeeDee Lamb's still putting up decent numbers every week. But it's the question of do you get that 6 or 7 point, the 7.5 point game, or do you get the 19-point game against Houston?
Yeah.
How long is he going to play? I think you could say the same thing about Tony Pollard too. It's like how much are they actually going to play these guys is really scary.
I also just realized he also has Michael Gallup starting currently. So he just has the Cowboys offense playing.
What the fuck?
He has CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, and Tony Pollard.
Honestly, indexing everything you have against the Texans is not a bad idea.
I mean, true, actually.
Although, they didn't allow an offensive touchdown to the Browns, but the Cowboys are a lot better than the Browns.
Can confirm.
Yeah. Also, he has Derrick Henry against Jacksonville, that's like guaranteed 27 points for Derrick Henry. Like,
yeah, that's guaranteed 100 yards, 2 touchdowns at least.
Yeah. So, that's pretty solid. But, yeah, I think it's some of these players are big. It's really going to depend on who he gets to fill his fucking roster.
Yeah. And for Derrick Henry, if this was a point per stiff arm league against the Jags, he would have like 80. Because that dude just throws our boys into the ground.
Yeah. Also, don't notice Jermichael Hasty on this roster. I just noticed that.
Yeah, I think that was a pickup in case ETN was hurt, and he'll probably get dropped. But I don't know.
Maybe. He did have 18 points the week before when ETN got hurt. So maybe he's. Yeah. I don't know. Dalton, you got some work to do. Because he's in one of the win in your ends. So it's pretty huge.
Yeah.
The last team. Oh no. Another team that's able to win in their end is Steel. Steel's the only one that's not facing another 6 and 7 teams.
6 and 7.
He's got, in theory, the hardest matchup with Banglewood, and his quarterback's out, which is why I gave his key player to Kirk Cousins. Just because the guy from the bench, and Kirk's been really inconsistent this year. He's done as bad as 2 points in a game. He's popped off. He gets the Lions this week. That should be good, unless you're the Jags. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Usually the Lions are a good matchup. But I also had down Devonta Smith because he's been really hit or miss this year. He's against the Giants, which isn't a great matchup. They have a pretty good defense. But with Dallas Goedert out, Devonta Smith has had a lot more work. So if that continues, he could be looking good to make the playoffs and win against Banglewood. But it's kind of a toss-up with Kirk. You never know what you're going to get with that dude.
Yeah, it definitely feels like they're making it a point to target Devonta Smith at least 7 times a game since Goddard got hurt, which is pretty good for consistency. It's just going to be, can he produce off that?
Yeah.
He's kind of touchdown reliant a little bit. Not too bad, but yeah, it's... Yeah, I don't know. I just don't like Devonta Smith. I think he's, I don't know. This is one of the, do you have players like that where it's like, I don't like you? I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Devonta Smith's little 5'9", 130-pound looking ass. But I just don't like you. Sorry. I don't know. Fuck. This is a great podcast.
It really
absolutely
is.
Prime content. What about Beans? She is the number 6 seed currently and plays Dalton and B-Way in her win in your end matchup.
The win in. Mine for Beans, I put Miles Sanders just because, he's another player that's been really up and down. He'll get in the end zone twice and get 100 yards one week and then get 6 carries the next week. And it's the Eagles' offense is just really weird sometimes, where sometimes they'll give Miles a lot of work and other times they won't. So him scoring is definitely going to be a big reason why Beans wins or loses. And then I put Samaje Perine / Joe Mixon because, they've both been pretty good when they've been playing, and we'll see if Joe Mixon comes back from his concussion this week. But, even if he doesn't, Samaje Perine's been pretty good.
Yeah, I also had Miles Sanders. It's funny because last year he didn't score a touchdown, and in games that he did not score a touchdown this year, he has one game over 10 points. So he's pretty much he needs the end zone or he's kind of fucked. He doesn't get that much passing game work. He gets a little bit, but not a ton.
Yeah, Gainwell's the one that gets all the passing usually.
Yeah, so he's really touchdown reliant, meaning it's going to be up or down. And the Giants do have a pretty solid defense. So, yeah, I think Miles Sanders is going to be pretty key. You could also say Jalen Waddle. I think I put as a side note if he's healthy. It's more because I think when he's healthy, he pretty much always produces. But if his leg is still injured or whatever it was, his hammy or whatever, that's a pretty rough sign. Because he's arguably been Beans' best player the whole season.
Yep. And I will say T-Law is pretty important for her too because, Aaron Rodgers is on bye this week, so she has to play T-Law assuming he's healthy, and he's had a good string of games. This past week wasn't really his fault. I don't think the defense kind of just rolled over and died, and receivers were dropping it.
Yeah, everyone but Christian Kirk could do nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Titans aren't a great defense, though.
Especially their pass defense is bad. Their run defense is okay, but their pass defense is real bad.
So you'd think that, as long as Trevor's healthy, you'd think that it's a pretty good setup.
Yep.
Tennessee, we'll see. I don't know. How about for Sharksy, the first playoff locked team we're talking about? Although this week is pretty big for her seeding because we know there's going to be at least two other teams currently at 7 wins, which is where she's at right now. She plays you to try and get to 8, which will guarantee her a top 5 seed.
Yep. My X Factor, whatever you want to call it for Sharksy, is probably Gabe Davis. Because, this dude gets 2 points or he gets 20 points. Because he is a big play machine. And, at least for this week, they're against the Jets. And they have a very good defense. He probably won't have Sauce on him very much because he'll be on Diggs for the most part. And, Sauce has been one of the best cornerbacks in the league, which has been crazy. But, they still have a really good defense. But all it takes is one long touchdown, and he's doing what he does best, so.
Yeah, he blows up sometimes. Yeah, I had, this is weird. At first I had James Conner. Before looking at the numbers, because maybe I'm still thinking of last year when he was just completely end zone reliant. The last 3 games he's averaging 23 touches a game for the Cardinals. That's a lot of touches.
That do be a lot.
And so I was kind of well, maybe he's not an X Factor because he's almost guaranteed if they're doing that to get 20 points. So I ended up putting Rashad White. They're against the Niners this week. That's a really bad matchup.
That's really tough.
Anyone, as the Dolphins learned this week. But, he doesn't get goal line work sometimes over Leonard Fournette for some stupid-ass reason. Because I'm pretty sure Rashad White's just better than Fournette at this point. Fournette's terrible.
I agree.
And, Brady doesn't really trust a lot of people on the team, but he did trust Rashad White this week. He got one of the receiving touchdowns. So I think it's going to be can Rashad White get 10 points? Or is he going to hit 7 carries for 2 yards, 1 catch for 12 yards, and just call it a day? I don't know.
With that San Fran defense, there's no telling because they are just so good. But also, looking at Rashad White on someone else's roster makes me sad because earlier in the year, I picked up and dropped him at least 3 times. And and now he's doing well on someone else's team, and it makes me sad. I could really use him.
Yeah, well, Battleship Lenny, he just couldn't do it. He couldn't keep trucking. So, Rashad White's here doing not Leonard Fournette things. It's definitely doing not Leonard Fournette things. Yeah. Not being like 280 pounds.
Jesus Christ.
He looks that big.
That's a big old boy.
All right, let's get into our. Let's shaping up to be the upper echelon. We'll start with Banglewood. Currently sitting at 8-5. He doesn't need this win, but this win guarantees him a top 4 seed. He does not. He does have a tiebreaker over Reeves. He does not have it over me. Does he have it over you?
I don't think he has it over me either, no.
He doesn't have it over you. He also, I believe, has it over Shark C. Let me try and
not 100% sure.
Check on the fly. Who is your X Factor for Banglewood's team?
My X Factor is probably Damian Pierce. He had been really, really good up through the season until the last few weeks, where the Houston offense and team in general is just so bad, so the defense can literally just put like everybody at the line of scrimmage, and Kyle Allen just kind of throws it to the defense anyways. So they kind of can't run the ball, and they have Dallas this week, which is a terrible matchup. I just feel like he is a really good player, just on a really terrible offense. So if he could just break a big run, that would be huge for Banglewood. We saw him do it earlier in the year, so he's definitely capable of it. But then another player I had right behind him is Marquise Hollywood Brown. He right now does not have him in the starting lineup. Could change. But I think if Hollywood can get into, like, if he puts Hollywood in his lineup, I think he could be a difference maker just because he's a big play machine, kind of like Gabe Davis. But he had been injured, so who knows if he's 100%.
Yeah, I thought about Dameon Pierce, but when I looked at his lineup, I was like, I don't even know if you start Dameon Pierce this week. Like, do you just start Zeke and Najee and then put in Marquise Brown at your flex? Like, I was really...
Yeah, that's tough.
I didn't really know what to do there. So instead, I went with Christian Kirk, Jags wide receiver. Really, really inconsistent fantasy-wise. Last performances, 13-6, 27, 17, and 5.
Oof.
So it's like, it's all over the map. We've already talked about Tennessee's passing defense blows, so this should be a good week for Christian Kirk. But then going into the playoffs, he also has Dallas. Tough matchup. The Jets. Tough matchup, although Christian Kirk is not really the player that Sauce Gardner would guard that often. And then the Texans. So 2 good matchups and 2 pretty bad matchups coming up for Christian Kirk. And I think Alex has been kind of relying on him to be a consistent number 2. So he needs that to keep happening.
Yeah, I will say my I've been keeping tabs on it all year. My bold prediction of Christian Kirk, wide receiver 1, he is at number 10 overall right now.
My bold prediction of James Robinson, biggest steal in fantasy, is not.
Christian Kirk also has somehow... I guess it kind of makes sense. Cooper Kupp is still above Christian Kirk in total points scored by 9 points, so he should jump him this week. But that's kind of crazy that he's still behind him.
Damn. Yeah, that's Cooper Kupp's good. That's the moral of the story.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. I also had Tua as another health thing. Just like Tua's got to play. The matchup's really, really good on Sunday night.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be a banger.
If he doesn't play, Banglewood doesn't have a backup quarterback. So, wait, he's Kyler Murray. What am I saying? He's Kyler Murray.
He does.
Luckily, also plays a late game. So, Banglewood has enough time to decide or to see if Tua's going to play. But yeah, Tua's probably better than Kyler Murray this week.
I think
And
Kyler has a decent matchup too, right?
Is New England's
Oh no, New England.
I have no
No.
idea.
They've been mediocre, I think.
Yeah, and then, oh god, the next 3 weeks, Kyler gets New England, Denver, and Tampa Bay. So,
Yikes.
Alex is one of those teams that doesn't really have to look to this week necessarily. It's a big week, but the lowest he can go is the 5th seed. I looked, by the way, he does not have a tiebreaker against you. He does have it against Sharksy and does have it against Reeves. So it's actually really difficult for him. He would need oh god. There needs to be some tie things for him to fix.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, he's looking for a championship, I think.
Oh yeah.
And both quarterbacks, even the Tua also has a pretty difficult schedule. Buffalo and New England, or New England for the Super Bowl, Buffalo for the first round of the playoffs, with a Green Bay sandwiched in there. It's not great, but not terrible. I mean,
Yeah, it could be harder, that's for sure. I mean, Buffalo's defense has not been great recently.
Yeah, so I think Tua's definitely got the easier schedule, so he really wants to be healthy. Next is Reeves.
Mine, I thought it was pretty easy, is Justin Herbert. He was a super high draft pick. He's been pretty disappointing for the most part. He's had a couple good games here and there, but he has a great matchup this week against Miami. Their defense is mad. And I don't know, just the rest of Reeves' team is like pretty consistently good. So this guy is like the only part of his starting lineup that isn't. So if he plays well, it's going to be really hard to beat Reeves.
I will say the last 3 games with Keenan Allen in the lineup, 19, 28, and 18. So he's definitely better with Keenan Allen. And yeah, you talked about he gets the Dolphins defense. He gets Tennessee the next week. He gets Indianapolis the following week. And he gets the Rams the folling week.
Jesus.
Meaning
that is juicy.
He's got a cakewalk in front of him. But yeah, I think him and I guess Kenneth Walker's health now.
Yeah.
Is pretty much
the jammed ankle. Whatever the fuck that
they're
means.
pretty much the only question marks on Reeves' roster.
Yeah.
It's stacked. We've talked about this for the last half a season.
It still makes me chuckle every time I open Reeves' team and see Breece Hall in the IR spot.
It's funny because he doesn't even need to care.
Yeah, he just doesn't have injuries. It's great.
It just doesn't matter.
Couldn't be me.
I mean, I say he doesn't have injuries. He had Breece Hall as an injury, which is pretty huge.
Yeah. Well.
But even, and KW3, I think, to get back to that a little bit, needs to get back to being good. He's been good in fantasy, but I think did we talk about this last week where he's just kind of
a little bit.
He hasn't been that good of a runner.
He's been pretty inefficient on the ground the last few games.
Yeah, I mean, Gino's kind of carrying that team.
Imagine thinking you would ever say that.
And Kenneth Walker's first matchup in the playoffs is San Francisco. And in the Super Bowl week, he plays the Jets. So, KW3 stepping it up for Reeves would be huge because he actually could be a pretty big negative if something goes wrong.
Oh, yeah.
Next up is you.
Who you got for me?
Who did I pick for you? I picked Travis Etienne. When we did our redraft, Etienne was pretty high up. I think he was a late first round or early second round pick. And since then, there's been an injury, and there's been 2 really ineffective games. Maybe this week was because of the injury. I don't really know. But, 8 points and 6 points in his last 2 full healthy games is just not going to cut it.
Yeah.
How thin your roster is.
Thin.
We'll call it thin. You really need Travis Etienne to get back to the 20 points a week thing we were seeing in the middle of the season.
I would appreciate that.
Whatever this is. We did talk about Tennessee's run defense is good. Then he has Dallas, then the Jets. So it's going to be a really rough 3 weeks. But can he at least get to the 13, 14 point mark and show that he's a real running back 2 in fantasy?
Yeah, it's definitely scary, but I don't really have a choice, so I'm just kind of throwing him in there and being like, please. But I had a different one for myself. I had DeAndre Swift, and mainly because, I mean, he had been injured a lot, and then he came back, and the Lions just weren't giving him the ball because I guess he wasn't fully healthy. This week he saw 20 opportunities, got 19 points. He got into the end zone. He's been pretty consistently getting into the end zone, despite not getting a lot of work. But if this week continues and he actually starts paying off on that first round draft capital that I spent on his dumb ass, then it could be huge for me, especially if Etienne is not going to perform like he was against these hard matchups.
Yeah, it's so hard to predict with Swift because Jamal Williams is so fucking good in the red zone that it's like DeAndre Swift really has to be like explosive. I mean, they do use him in the red zone. It's not like they don't.
Yeah.
It's just goal line they do not because they have the best goal line back in the league in Jamal Williams.
If they're on the 1 yard line, it's Jamal Williams and he is scoring. Like
he's scoring the first play. There's no like. Sometimes you see like those teams where they'll get stuffed twice and then they'll finally push it in.
Yeah.
No, Jamal Williams like just waltzes in every time, first carry.
Every time.
Does his goddamn little salsa all over the Jags' face, and it just makes me sad.
The dude has 14 touchdowns, and I'm pretty sure on those 14 touchdown runs, he has like 15 yards.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
He's really good, though.
He is. He's pretty good.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I guess who did you have for me to close us out?
For your team, I mean, it was kind of hard for your team, I'm not going to lie. Because, I mean, the one I put is Juju. He had been pretty disappointing like the first half of the season, and then he started clicking with Mahomes and putting up big numbers. Then Andre Sisco gave him a concussion, and he was out for a week or two, maybe. I don't remember. I mean, he has Denver this week, but this week's not super important. I mean, it is for seeding, I guess, but it doesn't matter that much. Like, you're going to be top 3 probably, regardless. So, yeah, I think if Juju can go back to linking up with Mahomes and getting a lot of yards after catch like he was, then he'll be huge for your team.
Yeah, I had a lot of trouble picking my own because I actually my team is generally pretty consistent. Like, the stars are good, everyone else is kind of terrible. At first, I wrote whoever the fuck I start in flex, but I was like, that's probably not a really acceptable answer. Yeah, I was like, because my team kind of does the same thing every week. I have the second most 100-point games behind Reeves. I realized that today. I looked.
I mean,
I was like, but I'm 6th in scoring.
When you have the RB1 and the wide receiver one on your team, you score a lot of points.
That does help. But I'm 6th in scoring. It doesn't. It's not even a lot of points.
That's fair. Just really inconsistent.
Yeah. So I ended up going with Josh Jacobs because the difference between a low Josh Jacobs game and a high Josh Jacobs game is astronomical. We've seen him have 10-point games, 7-point games, 8-point games, 45-point games, 32, 35.
Rip Agnes.
So,
oh no!
You brought it up. I did not. Yeah. So I mean, I think he's the really inconsistent player on my team, where the floor is not that low, but the ceiling is insane.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it's so weird because the Raiders, they've been picking it up lately. I think they're on a 3-game win streak, but before that, they were so bad, and their offense is literally Derek Carr, Devontae Adams, and Josh Jacobs, and you have all 3 of them. That's their whole offense. So if they score, you're gonna win, and if they don't, it's a little bit of yikes.
That makes me wide people happy. Yeah, they're weird. They've been pretty good over the last few weeks. It's just their defense is so bad. They're so atrocious.
Yeah, I mean,
they allowed 22 points to Denver That's like a record.
Well, yeah, I mean, you basically go like as the Raiders go, and this week they play the Rams on Thursday, so that'll probably be good.
Dude, this week is going to be the greatest week. I'm going to be done by Thursday. I'm going to dip it. I'm like, okay, I'm winning, I'm losing, peace, bye. And just not going to care about fantasy the rest of the week. It's going to be fantastic.
And looking way into the future, if you get there, fantasy Super Bowl weekend, the Raiders play the 49ers. So that is not great for your boy.
Well, that's not good.
But who knows?
It'll be the Brock Purdy 49ers, though.
Yeah, true.
All right, well, that was our topic. It wasn't really clear, but we kind of did it. Those are players to watch. We ended up listing half the roster for some of them, but fuck it. This is our podcast.
We do what we want.
Yeah, we do what we want. All right,
your couch.
Buy another one, you rich motherfucker. All right. Week 14 is huge. We've been talking about it all episode. It's massive. There are 5 teams at 6 and 7. Only 3 can make it in. And of course, we have 2 matchups between 6 and 7 teams to just have this like incredible finale. Let's start with Biz versus Spencer. God, let me pull up the fucking tiebreakers because this shit is ridiculous. So Spencer beat Beans, beat Dalton, and lost to Steele for tiebreakers. Meaning, I don't know what it means. It means he likely needs to win because Steele may have a tiebreaker over him, depending on the result of the other game.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And depending on if there's like 4-way ties or 3-way ties, all this bullshit.
Actually, if Steele loses, Steele only has tiebreaker over Spencer.
Yes, I'm pretty sure
it's likely a triangle.
I'm pretty sure
if Steele loses at 6 and 7, which means it goes to points.
It's so
which
confusing.
Is not good for Spencer. So
it's
really,
so confusing.
Spencer needs to win.
And that is going to be a tall task. Because as we talked about earlier, this roster is something.
Yeah, I mean, Saquon's been good. Patrick Mahomes has been good. Zach Ertz had been really good until he got injured. And
Rip.
Nick Folk's been pretty fucking good. Other than that, it's been really... And A.J. Brown's been really inconsistent, but also good. And then the rest of this roster is just filled with holes. There is no depth. I hate to sound like doom and gloom, but I don't think Spencer is going to be advancing.
Yeah, I do believe I would predict Biz to win this matchup.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about Biz's roster not being the greatest either, primarily because Aaron Jones is out, so it looks even worse than it could.
I mean, if she actually has to start Damian Harris, that is less than ideal. He may not even play on Monday night. And even if he does, he's not going to get a lot of work because Ramondre gets everything.
Yeah. And like even she has Tyler Algier, who's pretty good on a bye week. J.K. Dobbins still out with injury. Like although he is
designated return, he could play.
Yeah. Why does he have his projection for this week?
Maybe he's coming back. Maybe maybe that's her X factor.
Honestly, it could be because
literally
he played one game and he played like 3 games, but one he had a really big game. I don't know. We'll see. Either way, I think with Damian Harris and Jared McKinnon, Biz wins.
I agree. I mean, Pat Mahomes does not have an easy matchup. He should still score, but he's not going to go nuclear like he does sometimes. He plays Denver. A.J. Brown's against the Giants. That's a tough matchup. Saquon plays Philly. They've been not great against the run, but still not bad by any means. So, I mean, he's playing Tyler Boyd and Jamar Chase is back. So it's like, I don't know.
Yeah. On the other side, I mean, Damian Harris does get to play against Arizona. Not a great matchup. Dak Prescott gets to play against Houston. Really good matchup. Justin Jefferson gets to play against Detroit. Really good matchup.
That could be
T.
a
Higgins
40
gets to play
point.
against Cleveland. Really good matchup. There's a lot of scary stuff here, I think, for business pop-up potential.
And Tyler Lockett is on a 5-game touchdown streak. We'll see if he can continue that.
Yeah, I mean, Geno is just fucking going off. I feel like the last few weeks, and Tyler Lockett is one of the big recipients of that. Yeah, I mean, I think we're both picking Spencer.
You mean Biz?
Against Spencer.
Also,
I'm pretty... So, I don't know if you remember we had this podcast episode where I asked a trivia question about what team had scored above 90 every week.
Was that Spencer?
It was Spencer.
Yeah, that was Spencer, right?
Yeah, and since then he has scored 72, 90.7, and 88.
It's the caster
so
curse.
We kind of cursed him.
No.
And by we, I mean me, because I wrote the questions. So it's probably my fault. Spencer, you can blame me. My bad. Let's move on to our other winner takes all, and by all I mean makes it in, matchup. That would be Beans versus Dalton and B-Way.
Yeah. I mean, there's a bunch of non-players in right now because for some reason there's 6 teams on bye in week 14 and it still pisses me off. And it's definitely majorly affecting this matchup. Dalton B-Way have Fields, Kmet, and the Washington defense all on bye, so they're going to have to pick up a QB, a tight end, and a defense and just plug them straight in, and that is going to be rough.
Beans also has Terry McLaurin on bye, who's been pretty good since, what's his name, came into the lineup? Heineke came into the lineup. I mean, he's been a little inconsistent, but he's definitely had he's actually been, like, his floor has been lower than it was with Heineke, I guess, but his ceiling's been higher.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the buys are fucking. I can't believe this is an atrocity.
It's so dumb.
NFL. There were 2 teams on bye last week. What are you doing? Anyways, yeah, I mean, not having Fields is just. I don't really know if Dalton's going to be able to overcome that.
I mean, I was looking at the available quarterbacks that he can pick up because he does not have a quarterback on his roster that is playing. I mean, can pick up, I think it was like the Ravens backup, Huntley, which could be okay, I guess.
The Steelers' defense has actually been pretty good
since
TJ Watt came back, so that's a little suspect.
I mean, Ryan Tannehill against the Jags maybe can always do the Russell Wilson dart throw, see if he somehow gets anything. I don't know. Like, there's not really any good people to pick up, so it's just gonna be rough.
Yeah. If you want rough, try looking next at the available tight ends, because Dalton does not have a tight end on his roster. The lead tight end is still Zach Ertz, who is no longer playing for the season, followed by Tyler Conklin against Buffalo, who Mike White does not really. I mean, he had 7 targets this week, but only 2 catches. Let's see, other names: Noah Fant, Mike Gesicki, Dawson Knox, Hunter Henry.
God.
Yeah.
This
I don't know.
Starting lineup is gonna be a sight to see.
Yeah. Now, the nice thing for Dalton is he does have. He has a points. He has a decent cushion for points. So if the tiebreakers do come down to that, he does have a chance to win. If Steele does not win, and it comes down to that tiebreaker situation, he's currently 5th in scoring, I think.
Yeah, both of these teams have high point totals. So I think I was looking at it. I think if Steele loses, the extra person that makes it in will probably be the loser of this match. And then the one out would be Biz or Spencer, I think.
It depends. Yeah, it kind of depends on who loses the other match. Because I think we're both expecting Dalton and Spencer to lose.
Yeah.
My guess. In that scenario, that's a three-way tie for tiebreakers.
It's so confusing.
Yeah, that's a three-way tie because Dalton beat Steele beat Spencer, Spencer beat Dalton. In the scenario, if Steele loses and the other two expected losers, it's a three-way tie, meaning it goes to points. Now, currently, I believe Steele is fourth.
Steele is
and
leading
Dalton
that
is
group.
Fifth in points.
Yeah.
So that means this week scoring a lot of points is really important. And unless Steele wins, his matchup this week is against Banglewood. It's really big for Steele because again, if he wins, he's in. It's not as big for Banglewood, but Steele's matchup, a dub makes it so much easier for him.
It could let Banglewood jump or stay above Reeves with his head-to-head tiebreaker. So he's got a little bit of skin in the game. He's got to pick up a kicker because his bye, assuming Tua plays, Tua and Tyreek should do well against the Chargers. Christian Kirk should do well. I don't know about Dameon Pierce. I mean, against Dallas, that is tough.
Yeah. I think you sub out Dameon Pierce for Marquise Brown. I
would.
Dameon Pierce is... Cleveland has one of the worst run defenses in the entire league, and he went 18 for 73. Houston's just not good enough for him to play, I think. And it fucking blows because he's awesome.
Yeah.
And it's just... Did you see his fucking truck that he had on the Cleveland this week?
Yeah,
Dude,
I did.
he's
a beast.
Fuck you, Dan Mullen. God. Fuck. This is the closest matchup of the week, I think, if Tua plays.
I agree. And he should, I think.
I think he'll end up playing. This could honestly go like either. Like I have no clue. My guess, I would pick Banglewood. I think because I like the consistency a little more.
Yeah, I think I agree. But just for not picking the same people every matchup, I'm going to pick Steele.
Yeah, I literally have. I think if Mike Williams plays, this is also pretty different. Because getting Jacoby Myers has been okay. Not really. He's actually been terrible the last few weeks.
Yeah, he has.
The Patriots,
just fell
their
off.
defensive core. Well, it's so. Mac Jones is getting so fucked by Bill Belichick. I'm sorry. It's fucking. They have a defensive coordinator running their fucking offense, and they're like
It's going great.
In the first quarter, they're like, okay, what didn't work? Let's do that the rest of the fucking game. Oh, my God. Anyways, yeah, I think Mike Williams playing. He's questionable this week, so we'll see. He said apparently he should take part in practice this week. I guess that's good. I don't know.
We shall see.
And it's going to be interesting to see how Baltimore's hurt by not having Lamar. Mark Andrews could take a big hit. Or again, I think tight ends being the safety valve is just such a key.
Especially one as good as Mark Andrews.
Yeah, you'd like to think he gets 10 targets in this game.
Oh yeah.
Which means he'll probably get 3 targets, 2 catches.
Oh yeah. I mean, the other 3 matchups are, kind of meaningless, but a little not meaningless, I guess.
They're important for seeding.
Yeah.
For starters, Hugh versus Sharks is pretty huge for seeding. I think we talked about Sharks needs this win. And so do you. Yeah, I think you also kind of need the win.
I need it for a chance at first seed. Otherwise, I'm pretty much locked into top 3.
Who has the tiebreaker between you and Reeves?
I think
you do.
I think I do, yeah. Because that's when I beat him by like 2 points.
Classic. Yeah.
But you have it over me.
I have it over you, and then you have it over Bengal with 2-0.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it is kind of meaningless for you, but for Sharksy, it's pretty big because she has a chance to get a higher seed. Bengalwood has a tiebreaker over her. Reeves has the tiebreaker over her. Or, sorry, she has the tiebreaker. Wait, fuck.
It's so confusing.
Oh my god, I looked this up earlier in the fucking episode, too.
Also, our projections are 0.26 different. 108.69 nice to 108.95.
Wow. That's big. That's intense. Okay. And a second now.
You can do it. I believe in you.
So Bengalwood has it over Reeves and Sharksy, and Reeves has it over Sharksy. So really, Sharksy needs this to not fall further in the standings. Yeah. I'm not going to look and see who of the other 6-win teams has the tiebreaker with Sharksy. My bad.
We'll figure it out later.
Reeves would have included them in the graphic.
Yeah, we blame Reeves.
That would have been nice.
Our graphics guy.
Thanks, Reeves. All that work you put in, not good enough. Fuck, I gotta pick this matchup now. I think. This is the other really tough one for sure. I think I like your matchups a little better.
Yeah, I agree.
But I like her players a little better.
Sag.
I'm gonna pick you because she has her core playing the Jets defense.
I'm down. I like winning.
This could also be a game where Tampa Bay's defense goes off for like 25 points because
please no.
Brock Purdy just like goes absolute ape. Yeah, I'm gonna pick Wyatt. Again, this is the other one where I'm like, if I'm wrong,
it's gonna be close, probably.
Yeah. And then we have Reeves versus Agmills. Agmills trying to play spoiler to Reeves' hopes. Reeves could fall to the 4th seed.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's a way he could get to the 5th seed, but I don't think so.
Well, he is at the 4th seed already.
Oh yeah, I guess he can be locked into the 4th seed.
Yeah.
I don't think he can.
No, he can't
get under Sharksy
because he has a head-to-head against her.
Yeah.
We'll see if Ken Walker plays. That'll be a big influence on this matchup because then you would have to play somebody that he picks
player.
up.
Yeah, because I mean, normally
he wants to play Dalvin and Madison.
Yeah, normally he has Brian Robinson and AJ Dillon as pretty good depth. But the NFL said no to that for this week. So, meanwhile, Agmills has to replace David Montgomery. I mean, he did have some good pickups this week. Maybe Zonovan Knight, especially if Michael Carter's out again, Zonovan Knight may be the player to put there.
Probably.
Who is Kyron Williams?
He's the rookie for the Rams. He's been
three
bad.
Carries for 9 yards.
Yeah, I don't understand how he has 9 as his projection.
And yet he is 53% rostered. Is he a starter? I'm so confused. Who is this guy?
Yeah, I don't... I mean, it's either him or Cam Akers, I guess. But, I mean, Cam Akers got like 16 carries last week. So, I don't know.
Maybe it's Gus Edwards, too. I don't know.
That's
maybe
possible.
It's Evan Singletary. Fuck, I don't know.
He's got all these mediocre running backs, and it's hard to decide between them all.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think any of them is going to swing the matchup.
It's probably a Reeves dub. Especially because he's starting with Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, but there's not even like a great other option to pick up. Like we kind of talked about with Dalton, it's like, what is he supposed to do? And like tight end is another weak position. He has Dolchich, who's all right, but there's not like there's an upgrade available out there.
No.
I think the only way is, and he has Chris Godwin against San Francisco. Fuck, man.
Yeah, I think it's just a Reeves dub. I'm not gonna lie.
If the Chargers don't go off, that's probably. But even if they go off, Reeves has Justin Herbert, so that kind of counteracts it. But we'll see if Agmos can play spoiler. And the last matchup is me versus Becca. We both have some player roster spots to fill because Hayden Hurst is out. And I don't know, does she have another
Young
tight
Ho
end?
is out. No, she doesn't.
She does not have another tight end. Half her roster's on bye week because why not? Including Jonathan Taylor and Cordell Patterson and Christian Watson.
Oh.
Young Ho's out. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to pick myself, I guess. I don't know.
Oh my god, he's picking himself.
Yeah.
No, I'd pick you too.
I mean, normally I don't pick myself, but I don't know. Joe Burrow could go off for another 35-point week.
Yeah, Cleveland's defense is pretty bad.
Yeah, I just don't like the matchups for her this week, and having half your roster out is not great.
Yeah,
so I'm going to pick myself. If I pick myself and lose, by the way, I'm never picking myself on another episode of this goddamn podcast. I don't think I picked myself all season. If I lose this week, I'm just never picking myself again. I refuse.
I mean, she does have the Dallas defense against Houston. That's like a given 20 points.
Shit. Fuck, man. Oh, God. Fuck this. Okay.
Unlucky.
All right. Well, before we close it out, I have a couple announcements. One, next week is going to be a mega episode. Probably to the point where I'm going to have to make 2 separate Riverside FM accounts and do 2 different recordings because it's definitely going to go over the time limit. And we are announcing our playoffs third host. We are going to have Ag Mills as a host on the podcast every week during the playoffs. So someone who's not in the playoffs, unbiased, clearly. Ag Mills has never been biased towards anything. Impartial observer. He's going to be joining us for the few weeks. I don't really know how the playoff episodes are going to go. If we're going to do full episodes or half, I don't really know.
We'll figure it out.
But yeah, we'll see. We're excited to have Agmils join. It should be pretty fun. That was a very positively received episode that he was on. So we're doing little testers, little feelers. Yeah, it should be a good one. Good luck to everyone. It's a big week in fantasy. I wish we could all make playoffs, except
winner go home.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens in this crazy-ass week, and that's all from us.
Goodbye.
Adios, motherfuckers.